Really excited to talk to you today about Star Wars Visions. First of all, this is a style of show I would not have usually watched. I've watched some anime cartoons, but it's probably the ones that most people who aren't huge fans of anime watch. Things like Pokemon, the original cartoon
Mm.
series, or like Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that. Those like typical ones, but
Stuff that was easily
Dragon Ball Z.
accessible in the
Yeah,
US in the 2000s.
exactly. And we talked about Greta Gerwig and the Fly or whatever that was.
Earwig and the Witch,
Earwig and the Witch. Yeah,
the very poor Studio Ghibli entry. Yes, that was
exactly.
pretty recent. Yep.
But I think anime in and of itself has just like been growing within the United States consciousness, and now Star Wars just getting all these awesome animation studios to make an episode or two for their short anthology series about just like different Star Wars stories, mostly about Jedi and Sith. But uh, man, I was really impressed with this. This was like very interesting, and I think we'll talk in a minute about this juxtaposed against Marvel's What If. But I definitely found this to be, I think, a little bit more intriguing. I find both shows pretty intriguing, but I found this to be a little bit more intriguing um, than that, only because I felt like this brought in the concept that the Last Jedi was kind of going for at the end, right? That they steered away from, but like the idea that like there's Jedi out there and there's all these different stories and anyone can kind of be it, and there's all this different stuff going on that we don't actually see because we just follow this one family around all the time.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is kind of where Visions is going. It's like, yeah, there's a lot more shit going on than just the Skywalkers.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you get when something's not canon and you just take the gloves off, take the training wheels off, and let inspired fans, inspired creators do their spin, do their pitch on things. From what we understand, that's how Disney is approaching the movies with Lucasfilm, right? At this point. And it makes a lot of sense because Star Wars is completely indebted to the Eastern influences, right? George Lucas openly citing Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress as the inspiration for A New Hope, after all. And we've had, I guess, nods to anime specifically in Star Wars more recently with the original Star Wars Clone Wars micro series on Cartoon Network from Genndy Tartakovsky, which is kind of like, I guess, like After Last Airbender, since this something that's clearly Western, but also very clearly inspired by anime. And to get Star Wars Visions, which apparently was pitched by the showrunner James Wogg, who's a Lucasfilm vice president, to get this, I think, just shows the possibility of taking the gloves off. And that's despite the fact that, as you mentioned, this is still quite focused on largely the Force, Jedi, and Sith, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine Star Wars Visions where we just got some smugglers, some spacers, some droid only stories. Again, Star Wars is such a sandbox, so we could do truly anything, right? And still, what we got, you can't blame people for wanting to do their spin on the Jedi and the Sith, right? Because shit's fucking cool, man. And you could tell that the creators behind this agree that the shit's cool. And I loved it. And I also just love how self-contained everything is, right? Again, we'll get to What If in a second, but I just love that so many of these shorts, which range from like 14 to 22 minutes, so many of these shorts leave you wanting so much more. So they're so rich in such a short amount of time. Just really, again, shows how inspired the creation of these were, which apparently was quite a challenging creation because the pandemic started and liaising between Lucasfilm and these 7 animation studios over in Japan became more challenging, right? Because all the in-person meetings went away. But yeah, I loved it. Did you have any ones that stood out to you? Again, because these are all not connected to each other. It's a complete anthology.
Yeah. So I know I definitely did. I thought the first episode, the duel, was really, really strong and totally sucked me in. But then, kind of moving on, I thought the Ninth Jedi was a really interesting
Fuck
episode.
yeah.
That one definitely like stood out, and then also what was it? The Duel was that, or no?
The
It was
Duel's
the
the first
Elder.
one. The
So
Elder,
it was the
yes.
Elder. I really loved the Elder. It's actually the one I chose for the background. If you're watching on YouTube, um, I just really loved that whole like vibe, and like the old kind of crazy Sith Lord. He was, oh, I wish I had my powers with me, or I wish I was as strong. I just thought that guy was so creepy and great.
Yeah.
What about you? Which one stood out to you?
Yeah, I love those ones as well. I also really love The Village Bride,
Hmm.
which I think Village Bride is really cool because that gave me some hardcore Studio Ghibli vibes because of the emphasis in the story on being in tune with nature and how that affects the force and stuff. Thematically very very Japanese, but also specifically for very very Ghibli. Really like that. Um, the thing, the duels are awesome way to start this too because clearly a nod to Kurosawa's
Yeah.
Yojimbo, right? It's a very familiar thing. Even like Seven Samurai as well, just like the uh, wandering people, wandering
Hmm.
Ronin defends uh, helpless village versus attackers, right? It's really
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
But the black and white
Hmm.
animation style, really cool. But then again, because this is non-canon, because this is self-contained, they just get to do cool shit, right? The Sith there, she's rocking a lightsaber blade with this umbrella apparatus that makes like all these blades that spin. It's like fucking cool,
Yeah.
right? And a bit of a subversion at the end when you realize this Ronin figure seems to be a Sith, a dark side user as well. He just
Hmm.
got pissed and decided to fuck this person up. And you see at the end, he's got a bunch of other red crystals, and maybe he's on the path to redemption. Who knows? There's actually a book coming out called Star Wars Visions Ronin coming out in October
Mm,
that'll continue this story. So I'm confident
great.
we're going to get more Star Wars Visions. It might take a while, given how long it takes to, make animation. But I thought the duel was really cool. And thinking back when I first saw the trailer for Star Wars Visions, because when it was announced Disney Investor Day 2020, like, oh, Star Wars Visions, anime storytellers take their spin. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't really see that coming from Lucasfilm. But when I saw that trailer with the score, I was like, oh no, this shit rips, and this is 100% some anime ass shit. There's no half
Yeah.
measures with Star Wars Visions, and that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, no, they definitely totally go for it. I mean, even episodes like the second one, Tatooine Rhapsody,
Yeah,
didn't love that one,
same.
but I still give them a lot of credit because like it's obviously a very much the style of that animation studio Colorido,
Mm,
and they were doing something different. They were infusing music in there. They were exploring Jabba the Hutt's son. Like I was like, okay,
some
or
kind
like
of young
relative.
Hut character, yeah.
Yeah, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. We hadn't really seen a lot of that like before, so I appreciate them kind of going all out. And yeah, like you said, just like they didn't try to tame them for American audiences. They're like, make your story. People will either like it or not, but we're gonna put out what you want to put out, which I really appreciate.
Right.
Um, what did you think of the twins? That episode with like
Sure.
the brother sister.
Yeah, so the Twins is made by Studio Trigger, and you can tell because that animation style is just like their flagship series, Kill la Kill,
Mhm.
and I kind of like recognized that right away and saw that going in. But yeah, I mean that one's a little different because the Twins are just chilling in the vacuum of space, NBD, you know.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I thought that one is not my favorite, but I liked it as like a different spin.
yeah. I definitely that was my second to least favorite, only because I kind of felt like the whole like one like I don't know, it just felt like over dramatized and just kind of like weird and I don't know, but it just didn't work for me or didn't stand out to
Right?
me. I guess, but
That's actually one I'd love to check out because this came out on Disney Plus with uh, Japanese voice acting as well as the
nice.
English dub. And the English dub has a big voice cast, but so does the Japanese voice cast as well. A lot of big, famous players in terms of anime voice work. And I'm curious if that one's more effective with Japanese voice because they do sound a bit juvenile, yeah, with the English voice in the twins.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, overall, I thought this was great. We mentioned Marvel's What If. I know you're not a fan. I think I've liked it a little bit more than you, but I haven't been keeping up with it. It hasn't been holding my attention as much. You know, I saw your tweet basically saying like, uh, well, just like give the essence of your tweet. I don't remember
Well,
exactly
I
what you
just
said.
think this is what Marvel's What If should have been. This is what Marvel's What If wishes it was,
Mhm.
because they didn't take the training wheels off of What If. The blinders are still on. It's just really safe and not that interesting to me. It's interesting to lots of super fans. It's a successful show. It's already getting a second season. It's my opinion doesn't matter, but like I just don't find it that cool because it's like the basic, like slightest tweak of a riff, and it's like, oh well, what if Ultron won? Like, yeah, everyone seems to love that episode, but I just feel like it's still not actually the spirit of an anthology series because, and maybe that's because it's technically quote unquote Marvel canon because of the multiverse, right? So they almost don't want to go too far. I don't really know, but I just don't think it has done much to differentiate itself from other Marvel television shows, even though this is technically a Marvel Studios show. So
Mhm.
uh, I just had higher expectations as well. Whereas I think with Star Wars Visions, this is clearly something that has a greater vision, and just way more cool to me.
Yeah, I think the thing that's been interesting to me about the What If is just kind of like the domino effect of things, and some of the concepts that they explore are pretty cool. I think I really like the episode with Strange, and like what if he couldn't save his girlfriend,
Right.
Rachel
Rachel
McAdams,
McAdams.
and all that stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. Basically, how it ended up like being him versus him type of thing. But you know, I think what has made the what if pieces pop has been like the shock value pieces. Like I think it's the third episode where like Thor and Captain America and whoever else are killed by Hank Pym. And like I saw that getting a lot of attention because it was like the big players were like taken out, right? I think it might have been like actually like Iron Man and Thor or whatever and Hulk. But
Mhm.
regardless, I think why Visions probably is a better show is because it didn't need the like shock value of it all to really stand out and be something interesting. It was interesting because of like like you said, the vision of the show, for lack of a better term, right
Yeah.
now, just being more forward thinking and thoughtful and explorative of the universe. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
just think about which is probably the most popular short from Star Wars Visions, The Ninth Jedi. The Ninth Jedi has a really effective twist, but more importantly, actually introduces a really intriguing yet simple concept to Star Wars that really hasn't been explored before. That your lightsaber would almost adapt depending on who it's being wielded by. And
yeah,
the revelation that the color is all dependent on the true, nature of the wielder, I think is really good and it really plays into that twist because that episode is already kind of subverting expectations, right? The guy who clearly looks sinister, with the red visor and stuff. Oh no, that's actually the good guy, and all these really nice looking, seemingly noble ass Jedi figures. No, actually, they're the Sith, right? And
yeah,
then to take that a step further with these revelations about how lightsabers function in this particular story, something like that, I just find that like a much higher level than anything we've been getting from What If, which is I think not concerned with something that big. Like What If isn't trying to change how you think about the MCU even in a small way. So it's just a different goal.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, MCU. We're gonna be talking about them in a second, but is like so into this idea of like the multiverse and all these different timelines. But I was thinking, I think there's possibility for a show similar to this, probably around someone like Captain Marvel, who is admittedly doing some like universe hopping and world hopping, down the line to do something where she's just in a different world every episode, like and just kind of like exploring what's out there. But I don't think Marvel's nearly there yet. I think when you're as tapped out as Star Wars was with their main storyline, you kind of have to start exploring these other stories, and this is I don't know, this is a great product of it, so I'm happy for it. And honestly, we've gotten some really good Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, so keep it going. Really,
Oh
really
yeah.
happy with that.